Hello and welcome to Friday Art. Today we're diving into the calming world of mini landscapes in watercolour. These little scenes are not only a joy to create, but also serve as a perfect background for mindfulness, poetry and personal reflections. My name is Kate Field, artist, teacher and speaker, and I'm passionate about helping people find their creative spirit and, when they've found it, to develop it. Welcome if you are new, and welcome back to my wonderful regulars. Thank you so much for your comments. I read every single one and I'm absolutely overwhelmed by your kindness and your love. Thank you so much. In this tutorial, I'll guide you through each step to craft a simple but serene landscape that will bring a sense of peace to your page, perhaps in your journal or your sketchbook. Whether you want to use these as a backdrop for your thoughts or write poetry, or simply to enjoy the process, this session is all about embracing the joy of creating without the pressure of perfection. And as always, we will play with ideas and enjoy the process of creating. So gather your watercolours, settle in, and let's take this creative journey together. One small landscape at a time. And Monty says hello. Let's go.
So the idea of this tutorial is to create mini landscapes and then put some writing over the top. But of course, you can use this technique to do whatever you like. You're going to need some watercolour paints. I'm using my Paul Rubens, my Acrylic, and some little metallic ones, and I can't remember where I got these, so I will look up where I got them and I will post the link to all of the materials that I use below. I'm going to start off by working in my sketchbook. I quite like it to keep a record of what I'm doing, but also just to play around with some ideas. And then these ones are on postcard watercolour paper, but you could use cardstock and you could use wallpaper. Wallpaper lining paper is great. Now I've just put some squares on my book. I just use a frame. You could just use a ruler or just do them freehand. But the idea is we're just going to create some spaces just to create our sort of boundaries, really. But again, you don't have to do this at all. I'm going to be using very soft brushes. These are Rowney. Again, I'll put links in the description of all the ones that I use. I like to use a little spray, and I've got a pot of water. And I have put my pot of water on the opposite side of my desk to my cup of tea, because I am prone to dunking my paintbrush in my tea. So yes, hands up all of you who have done that. Yes, it's very silly, isn't it? And you think, oh, I've done that again. So we're going to just take this very slowly, because the whole point of this is it's mindful. It's going to spray a little bit in the top here, and I'm going to just use sort of woodland colours. So I'm mixing green, bright green with a bit of brown, and then into the water. I'm going to show you a few techniques that you can use. So this one is going to be very, very pale. Just dabbing the water. I'm just going to bring a little bit darker into the foreground, like this. This is a very good exercise if you are new to watercolours and you're kind of a little bit scared about using them. Just sort of break it up into little spaces. But I also think it's really good for those who are actually very experienced, because all of these things help us to practice. So these are the two wet spaces. This one is going to be like a hill coming down like this. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow into this one. Again, the paint will just run into itself, which again I do like. I like that effect. Just like this. I'm keeping my brush clean. I'm just going to add a little bit of blue and a bit of grey. And we're going to go into the sky. Again, I'm just dabbing. That's all I'm doing is just doing some dabs. So you can imagine a slightly overcast day. As those of you who watch me, I am a little bit obsessed with the weather. I live in the southwest of England. We have a lot of weather. And last week it was foggy the whole week. Yesterday and today is lovely. It's beautiful. The sun is shining. Right, I'm using the same colours, but this paper is now dry. And again, we're just going to show you the different techniques, and there might be one that you prefer to another. Just bringing that down there like that. Let's have a little bit more green. Again, if it's wet, the paint will bleed. Let's just do that. So I'm just breaking up the space, and then I think I'll do a little bit of orange into this one at the bottom. I love looking at the changes of the seasons, that sort of the drama of nature. I love it. I really get that where I live. I'm very, very lucky. I live in the country, but I live by the sea as well, so I have both. So out of my studio window, I have a field of sheep, which is really nice. And I was born in London, and I've lived in cities all my life up until about 6 years ago. So I still get very excited about sheep. So you see, I'm just putting the sort of layers, quite neutral colours here. And I'm just going to, again, pick up this idea of sky. Like that. Working quite quickly. With watercolour, you do need to work quickly. Once you've put the brush, once the brush makes contact with the page, don't keep going over and over it, because the paper will start to buckle. And so they're the two wet ones, and when they dry I will do, so I'll move that down again. Those two, when they're dry, I will do some more onto them, as I will with these ones. And I'm just going to do a slightly different design on these, but I'm going to keep the same colours. So on the page there will be a cohesion. So let's have again a little hill. In Dorset, where I live, the landscape is quite gentle. We have rolling hills and a lot of sheep. But I do love hearing about your weather and what's happening and that sort of thing. Make that one green, actually. Yeah, my knowledge of the world's weather has increased hugely since starting my channel. It's lovely. So yeah, so drop me a comment. What's the weather like where you are? There we go. And I do know we can get a little bit obsessed with the weather here in the UK. Have that slightly deeper green, not too much. I still want to keep these colours. Again, just sort of keeping that down there. I'm going to keep with this sort of bluey grey. Again, very lightly, very quick. So I'm going to leave those 6 to dry, and then I'm going to do something slightly different on this page. So working in my sketchbook, I'm going to use a variation of these colours and make them a little bit more vibrant so that I can see the difference. I want to create kind of a slight contrast with these 2 pages, because that will then help me decide what I would like to do further, and maybe to develop an idea. So I'm going to start off. The paper is dry and the paint is quite wet, and the colours that I'm going to be using are just going to be just a little more deeper in the tone. So I think that I just want to kind of experiment with having sort of darker colours. And again, it's quite a bit of water on my brush with this particular one, like this, and then I'm just going to have a sort of slightly more orange into that one, like that. Quite liking this. This is I will frequently do the land first and then the sky. You don't have to. It's just how I do it. And over the years, you kind of get an idea of what you like and what you like to do. So again, this time my sky is a little bit brighter. Just going to add some just water into that. And let that drip down. And then just let it float into the green. Now you see where it's puddled here? What I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a little bit of a wipe here. Just, you could use a tissue. Just bring that up. And you can do this if there's a sort of a mark that you've made that you don't particularly like. You can just dab it up. A bit of cotton wool works really well as well. But it's also quite good using a bit of cotton wool or a cotton bud to create, in this case, clouds. So I'm just going to leave that one. Right, this one, let's just move that. I'm going to have my brush quite dry. So I'm just going to take off the excess. And I'm going to use the same colours, but it's going to be much drier. I'm going to put in some sort of my rolling Dorset hills. And I really encourage all of my students to create things that are reflective of them or their environment. So think about your environment, think about where you live, And I know that I have viewers from all over the world, so your landscapes are going to be very different to mine, and this is what will make your work personal. So whether you live in the mountains or on the prairies or the wilderness, or whether you live in a bustling city, think about your environment and how you can incorporate that into your art. So a little bit more water now, but again I'm just going to take off the excess. I don't want to have too much water in this one. Now I'm imagining sort of fields. So again, I'm very lucky. I can just look out of my window and see the rolling hills, and there's a hedge just I live in a country lane, and so the opposite the house is the field, and that's where the sheep are at the moment. And today the sheep have moved right close to the hedge, so I can see them very clearly. So I'm using my brush, just using the end of it, because I want to make some marks. I'm leaving this bit, the edges, to dry a little bit, because I don't want the paint to bleed in too much. But you see the different sorts of marks you can make with your brush. And I really encourage people to play and practice this kind of technique, because it can be so effective and can look really lovely. So I'm just sort of bringing in that sort of brown into that green, and then in here I'm going to have a bit more of the orange. Again, not too much water. There will be a little bleed, as you can see, on that edge, because that was quite wet. That's nice, that's what I wanted. But on this, as we have this sort of yellow ochre onto the viridian green, I don't want that to bleed. So I'm just creating a bit of a barrier there, because I think I'm going to put a little fence there. Now I'm just going to go into the sky. Just going to take off the surplus water. Like that. There we go. I might just lift a little bit of that, like that. Now let's just move that up, and we'll just do this last one. I've just seen that there's a little splodge there. Oh, that's it. It was just a little mark there. I'm going to keep these more vibrant colours on this one. So these are vertical landscapes, and this one is a horizontal one. And this one I'm going to keep the eye level lower. So slightly different feel to this one. And I did create a tutorial quite a while ago now, looking at the work of Etel Adnan, and where we can just use 2 lines in a circle to create landscape. So I will link that in the description and in the comments if you would like to check that out, because it's a really good way to start off with creating like abstract landscapes. And if you're a beginner or if you're new to this particular medium, it can be great. So yeah, so you might like to check that out. So I'm just putting in these here. These are all the starting points. And with watercolour, you can go over some of what you've done. It's not like acrylic where you can obliterate if you really don't like something. You can just remove it, but you can do some things. Right, I am just going to add a little bit of crimson into my sky. There you go. Again, just having that. I love that where you just get those kind of beautiful colours at sunset. Like that. So I have created a course on using watercolours in nature. It's called Nature's Brush Strokes. It's available on my YouTube membership. I'm just going to, just because I'm talking and not concentrating, I'm just going to lift that up a little bit. So if you would like to join the membership, you get that course completely free, and all the other things that I've got on there completely free. Again, the details are below. It really does help me to grow the channel, and we have I have a few members now. I haven't started the membership for very long, so there's only a few of us, and it's lovely. it's very, very nice. I'm just going to get in this bit of, and in the course we start off by looking at the sea and doing some watercolor studies of the sea, and then part 2 is the forest and woodlands, and part 3 is the sky. I'm just kind of putting this in here. I don't want the orange to go into the green because you'll just get brown, and I'm just going to leave a little white gap for the moment until it dries. And then yeah, so part 3 is the sky, and then part 4 is sort of bringing it all together and thinking about how you're developing your own style, because this is the absolute key to my teaching, is for me to teach you techniques and then for you to do your own thing. I love that. And it's when I used to teach in college and on A-level and undergraduate and in schools. That's what I wanted. I want to see my students develop their own ideas. Right, I am going to leave those to dry, and while they're doing that, I'm going to show you something else. I love working in little journals and sketchbooks, and these little flip books I particularly enjoy. And one of the tutorials a few weeks ago, I showed you how to make these, so you might like to check that one out. So this one was the autumn one, so I did this for the whole of autumn, where I wrote little haikus and poems, and I like these. They make me feel happy, and I kind of dip in and out of them. And I've started this one of the forest journey as part of the course, because one of the things that I love about working in journals is that you can just leave them for a while and then come back. and I think this is really important, because quite often we think we have to speed finish things, and it's just not true. So I wanted to get these little postcards here, and I'm going to make little landscapes that can then be cut out and put into a journal. And again, if you haven't got a lot of time, this is just so lovely. So this is just postcard cardstock would work as well. So I've got my colours here. I'm going to keep with these sort of these neutral greens, but because I want to do like tiny little landscapes, let's just do a little bit there, and then a little bit there. You'll see what I'm doing in a moment. Actually, I do need to clean my water. That's very grubby. So I'm just doing like these tiny little squares, really. And what I'm going to do is then cut them out. I might do some doodles on them. And they're like the starting point. I'm going to do one that's a little bit bigger. This is going to be the bottom of it. There we go. Let's put that like that. And then we can have some you see that just the simplicity can be so effective. I'm going to have a bit of grey blue sky at the top. And then we're going to have a little bit of green at the bottom. So again, these sort of tiny, and because I'm going to cut them out, I can just turn it round. Just use up. Let's do a sort of a long, thin one. Let's have the bottom as green, like this, and then we can just have some nice, perhaps bright blue up here, and let it all kind of go through. And with these, you can then start to put little things on top using Fineliner pen. You could use acrylic marker, that kind of thing. And these are really great to practice your watercolour skills. So you're feeling that you really don't know what you're doing. These are great because they're so tiny and you can just have a good old play. Let's just put in a little bit of layers there. I'm going to leave that to dry because I want to put blue on the top. I'm just going to do another little one here. And I'll show you at the end what I do with these. So that kind of a darker sky. And you could do like little seascapes as well. So let's have this as the sea. Flat horizon there. And then we can change and have a different sort of blue at the top. I'm going to let those colours bleed in together. I can do another one over this side. Let's have another blue, and then some layers. And I'll show you what I do when I cut these out, because they're the sort of things that I do quite frequently directly into my journal, but also for cutting out as elements, because I think that can be really good fun, and you can use them for cards and all sorts of things like that. I'm just going to dip. A little bit carried away with that one, I think. A little bit too wet. Let's have that. Perhaps some mountains going on in these tiny ones. So I'll leave those to dry and go back to the other ones. Well, before I go back to the sketchbook, I just wanted to show you these ones. This one I wrote with my fountain pen, which does kind of bleed a little bit. And this one I wrote with a white acrylic pen, which doesn't bleed. Depends what you want, really. But with your acrylic pen or white marker pen, you can then create various patterns. Just going to get that ink flowing a little bit. And just do sort of marks across it. And if you're the sort of person who likes making your own cards, this is a lovely technique to use because you can make it so personal. Yeah, it's a really nice thing to do. And again, the ink, because I was using a fountain pen here, but yeah, it's quite nice because you can use the pen in different ways. It will kind of bleed into it because this ink is water soluble. Just doing a bit kind of little ideas here, and then I could perhaps doodle a tree. Just have, again, just sort of some ideas. Just going straight in, just again, just the process. I just wanted to show you this idea, and then the other thing, you can just highlight some of the edges. So you're bringing your thoughts together. So I've come back to my sketchbook. These are all very dry now, and I'm going to just do a little bit of detail on these ones. Once they're dry, you can paint over them, but the paint will react. The paint underneath will still react, so you have to bear that in mind. And what I'm going to do is to just do just a little bit of detail on these ones. So I'm going to sort of suggest that this is a bit of grass, sort of a meadow. Again, my brush is dry or damp. So I'm taking off the surplus water and just using the paint that is on the brush. Just a little bit of water. Take most of the water out. Yes, see, it's really quite dry, so we can get that sort of brush look, which is what I want there. And I'm just going to add a bit of yellow ochre just in there, so we're getting a combination of the colours like that. And then I'm going to have this idea of fields and meadows coming back over here. So again, sort of drawing with my brush this idea of fields. And again, really encourage you to look at your own landscape, the things that are around you, and be inspired. And where I am, the fields are divided up by hedgerows, so that when you look across, it really does look like a patchwork, which is lovely. It's a little bit more water in that bit there. So I just sort of have this idea of the fields. And I'm going to leave this space here because I might write a few words. Now this one, where the paint has dried, I think they look a little bit like trees. So these are going to be turned into trees. Let's put a bit of foliage, sort of imagine that it is coming into autumn. So a few little orange and red bits in my tree, sort of imagining that the leaves are just turning. Again, it's sort of quite loose and just letting the paint move about like that. And then similar to this one, I'm going to do some, so imagine some grass, just a little bit there. Let's just get a bit of the tree here, again very subtle. I just want these to be quite light little sketches. And again, let's imagine this rolling hill in the landscape like that. And so I hope you can see that you can get lots of ideas of what you could do with this idea of just a few lines. I'm just going to do a few more perhaps just sort of idea of trees. Just again, just using edge of the brush as if there's just a row of trees in the landscape. I'm doing them in a sort of a grey green. So they're sort of slightly in the silhouette. And again, just sort of putting an idea down like that. And you could then do all sorts of things. I like the idea of a fence. Let's put in a bit of a fence here. That kind of idea. And again, you can put in, we could put in little houses, couldn't we? Let's try a little. Let's put in a little house. That's a farm on the hilltop. And you can make these, really quirky. Whatever you like, really. Let's have another tree coming out here. Again, let's have a tree that's just going into autumn. And then I can do some bit of texture down here. Like that. And I might come back and do some more with these, because I think that these are good starting points. Now with this one over here, let me just move that like that. I'm going to do something similar, but this time I'm going to use those sort of more vibrant colours. Sort of imagining that hill is coming up like this. Again, so the brush is quite wet. It's quite a thin brush. Just bringing it up like this. And then what I want to do is to put some different sort of layers of green, just as a different kind of effect. So almost like a stripe. And let's just bring that there. I do like this lime green actually. Let's bring it to there. And again, it's sort of reminiscent of this idea of different colour fields in the landscape. And I think that we can get some really nice effects when we do this. Sort of changing some of the colours. And where I've got this boundary here, like that, I'm going to do something slightly different. I like the sky. I might keep the sky as it is. And here I think we're just going to do some kind of wild grass, and I might even put some flowers. And then I'm going to leave this space for some writing. Like that. And it's just sort of waiting for something, which I like. So this one, I'm going to do something similar. I'm going to, let's get my head out of the way. Let's take this line here where the paint has already run. And where we've got lines like this, we can just sort of exaggerate them a little bit more. And that would be quite a nice space to write a line as well. I might not, I might just leave them as they are. I'm going to have this field over here. We have this idea of an undulating landscape. I know that I've had quite a few of you who have never been to my bit of southwest England who have looked it up, and, which has been really sweet. They're, oh my gosh, Dorset is very beautiful. Yes, it is. It is. There we go. And you can see that there's these pages and these pages are different, but the techniques are similar. And likewise with this one as well, I might do something different. But I'm going to leave these in my sketchbook and go back to my other pieces. So I've gone back to my little mini ones, and the same as we were doing before, just going to put in a few little details, as you can see, just sort of playing around with these sort of tiny little shapes, which I will then cut out. Let's just move that one over here. I just realised I didn't put anything on the top of that one. Let's put a bit of sky on this one. But you can, I hope you can see from the sort of techniques I've shown you already that you've got endless possibilities of what you could do with this sort of idea. I'm going to keep this idea of the sea here. And what I'm going to do is cut these out. I have that. Let's have that as another hill coming up like that. A bit more intense colour. Then add water. Just let that float down a little bit. And then just take, let's have another hill coming down this way. Like that. Very, very simple design, but I think it can be really quite effective. I'll do the same on this one. And some of them can become very, very abstract. And that's quite nice. You have this, again, this idea of the fields. Like this. And these tiny little motifs I'll put into a journal. But they also make really cute little cards or tags, gift tags, that kind of thing. Well, they're fun. Well, I think they're fun. I hope you think they're fun too. Let's just do these ones. With these sea ones, I'm going to leave these to dry completely, and then I'm going to go over the top with maybe some white ink and put a few little ships. I think will be fun. I might have some ships. Right, this one, I just wanted to just let that bleed a little bit. As if we got this idea of shadow. Then a little bit of texture. Like that. So we've got those ones as well. And then finally, I thought we would create some elements using the metallics combined with the other watercolours. And I'm just going to sort of just put together some little blobs that we're going to turn into trees. And I did a whole tutorial on making elements like this, which you could check out if you like, but I just love this idea. It's really good when you're just thinking, I have no idea what to do, but I know that I want to do something. And it's quite meditative, actually. So I'm just using this metallic green combined with a bit of grey. I want to create kind of a mist with these ones. And let's have a gold one as well. And of course, these sorts of things are just wonderful to turn into cards and things like that. But which is, you know, the joy of doing something with these tiny little elements. And like I've said before, you can buy the most beautiful elements for art journaling, but I just think if you can make your own, and that's rather nice, isn't it? And so I'm just doing this sort of series of blobs, and I do find it very meditative, because we're not worrying about perfection or anything like that. We're playing. And I think when we can get that element of play into our work, then something wonderful happens. Let's go back to that green. Let's just put that one in there. Like that. Perhaps add a bit of blue to that one. You don't have to do metallics, obviously, but if you've got some metallics and you think, oh, I've got no idea what to do with them, then have a bit of a play. you can get metallic paints in the children's department. You're very, very inexpensive paints, and you can use them to make these terrific type elements. I'm going to leave those to dry. I'm just going to go and I'm just going to show you ones that I did in a previous tutorial. So again, these were just blobs of colour, and then I've gone over with a Fineliner, and the same with these, and the same with those. So you can kind of see what the sort of things that you could do with this idea. And I'm going to leave those ones to dry. I'm going to put a bit of lines on them, cut them out and put them in my journal, and that will be the last thing we do in this tutorial. So I've got my little blobs here. I've got this is a metallic acrylic pen, but you could use a Fineliner pen, you could use a biro. I'm just going to go around edges and just do a few little squiggles really. And again, these are going to be cut out. Let's just you could decorate these however you want. There's just endless possibilities, which is why I love this kind of idea. I can see that was still a bit wet, not quite dry on that one, but that's fine. And you know, you could put different colours on, and you know, you'll just have some fun with them really. And I'm going to keep these, put some of them into my little sketchbook, my little journal. So you can see really quickly. Just do them really quickly. Oh, I'm running out of ink on this one. Let's just get that going again. But you can see the idea of just putting these patterns on top of the blobs. And then of course, let's just swap those over. The other thing that you can do is to add different colours. So this is just a lilac acrylic pen. You can just put decorative dots. So I just want to show you that there are so many things that you could do with these techniques, and you really have some fun with them. Oh, that's my lilac, and then I've got this the white can work really well, so that the paint is not quite dry. I'm just going to put some dots over there, and then I can again put my black marker pen or my black acrylic pen into them, and you can make your own ideas and use these for all sorts of things. Let's just do those. You can see, just working very quickly. Don't kind of think about it too much. They're quite cute, aren't they? So as we come to the end of this tutorial, let's just look back on some of the ideas and techniques that we've done. I'm going to take some of these and develop them further. I really like them, and again, they kind of lend themselves to a little bit of poetry. And I've got some of my elements, and some I've put onto black card, and I've just started. I'm just going to move that book out of the way, and I've just started to put some thoughts together. Let's just put this down here. Again, I would kind of really encourage you to play with this idea, because when we start to put thoughts together, and again, this is just a starting point, starting to put some of my poems in. Put that one up here, put that little element or a little poem about oaks. Put that one in. And then this is ready for some other exciting things. And then I did a kind of a more wintry type. Pop that little one in there. And then it will all close together like that.
Thank you so much for joining me in this mindful journey of creating mini watercolour landscapes. I hope you found joy in the process and perhaps a little inspiration to add to your own thoughts, your poetry, your art journals, and your reflections in these tiny scenes. Remember, art is about the journey and not about the results. Perhaps if you've enjoyed the tutorial, you could give it a little thumbs up and consider subscribing for more creative ideas. And I'd love to see what you create. So if you want to join the Facebook group, the link is below. So write a little comment. I read every single one. And if you can't think of what to write, perhaps just a little heart. That would be lovely. And if you'd like to watch and learn more, you could look at this one and this one. So until next time, keep creating with joy and mindfulness. Bye-bye.